Alright, hello. Ignore the shoddy setup. I am no longer a content creator. I don't wish to be anymore. It's more fun to actually play games for myself. But I can't stand to sit around and watch other content creators make content that is half-assed just because they need to make content. And they aren't actually giving out reliable information. So sorry, Darth Microtransaction. I think you're a nice guy, but you aren't even trying anymore. The guy that you highlighted was not efficient in any way, shape, or form. He clearly had core problems. He had card problems. His rank was ridiculously high because he's most likely on a Mega Flight. You guys had character deletions, whatever exploits that most players won't have access to now. It's just... yeah, it was just bad. So anyway, here you go. I'm an actual free-to-play on a regular launch server. Hydra 2. I'm rank 146. I have all my alts at 105. 100. My Spider-Man's 105. Black Widow's 110. Obviously, here you go. I'm using the original set. The original set is not by any means the most efficient. That depends on you, the player. I like Trained Assassin. I focus on DPS skills. Unfortunately, I got that status accuracy there. It's not the worst. But you're going to see a lot of crit damage, crit rate, stuff like that. I didn't want that guard damage. Again, you know, you win some, you lose some. Dodge rate defense, guard damage decrease. Again, not the best, but there you go. Ultimate, stamina, HP recovery. I prefer HP recovery over HP. Unpopular opinion, but I like my potions hitting harder. So the gear set is up to you. If you're free to play, you're more than likely not going with a regional. So pick a skill that you like. I like Trained Assassin. I will show you why in a second here. So when you look at my skills, the potency are all going to be for the major DPS skills that I'm rocking after my ultimate are going to be around 1000%. 1122. Trained Assassin 1057 and Widow Sting 1096. So that plus 6 puts that at over 1000. So that way, no matter which one of these three skills I have after my ultimate, which has 3 charges, I'm pretty much going to expect a good amount of damage out of it. You can obviously focus on just the snipe if you like that. I never really liked the snipe personally. It slows me down, but it does hit like a truck, so it is in my lineup. I will show you my actual DPS lineup here. Again, this is kind of up to the player, I think, for the most part. I think the fire grenade is going to be best in slot in most builds because it will make you do more damage. It also helps other people do more damage, and when it's a DPS race, I don't want to help other people do more damage, so I'm not using that. What I'm using is knee dive, because knee dive pulls me into the enemies, which follows up with trap deluge. Once I'm in the middle of the enemies, I use that. When you're closer, if you're a Black Widow main, you know with trap deluge, when you use it closer to the enemies, it hits twice as opposed to the further range, which will only hit once. So I pull myself into the enemies. I got the trap deluge. I have Trained Assassin. I have my Widow Sting and my Snipe. That is my DPS major PvE DPS build. This is my PvP build. Again, that's really up to the player, but I use Trained Assassin first. Get in there, remove the target, lower the remove the target with the quick step strike, lower the damage with the trap here, increase your damage dealt with the bomb, and then Widow's Sting for that hard-hitting quick punch. And then I use this for additional layer of attack down and that snare, and it also comes out really fast. Animation is almost flawless and hard to miss, so it can also hit like a truck. These little skills in PvP, you'd be surprised. Black Widow can get a lot out of 200%. So things like this and this and the trap here actually will surprise you when your other skills manage to get dodged or fail. And then my third set here, This is my Omega War set, and same concept with the knee dive into Trap Deluge, pull myself into the enemy's Trap Deluge, Widow Sting. And then the grenade, in Omega War, I do actually want to help my team do more damage, because that helps the team. So we do have the bomb in the Omega War, and then Quick Step Strike. But again, those are really up to the player. How your play style. I don't think anything is set as being the best. But in terms of like when you're doing DPS for your PvE, I think one thing most Black Widows will agree on: your ultimate followed by Widow Sting, the snipe, are pretty much the best hits there. Quick Step Strike is obviously good for its major utilities. Got a really nice cooldown. It's just all around a great skill. So that's the one that I favored with my gear set. But again, that's going to be up to you, up to your luck, whatever you want to do. Omega cards. So this is where that guy was failing horribly. Now these are cards that I like. The dodge set. I like to have the extra dodge. So I'm not going to say that this is the best in slot here. If you're trying to get a little bit of extra dodge, it will help. If you're not, go for an attack set. I'm going to say that if you're a free-to-play player and you're going for, I don't even know what this interface is anymore. If you're a free-to-play player, you're going for a best-in-slot cards. Red Skull is going to drop this critical damage card. He also has an attack card. You're probably going to go with those because that 2 set will give you extra attack as opposed to a little extra dodge. I like the dodge because I'm trying to go for a little balance, which I will show you the overall stats in a minute. But either way, if you're going for the little extra dodge, I say go for these cards. Attack, Hail Hydra, that's going to drop from Zola, and then this one from Ares, also attack up. Thor drops from Malekith, also attack up. This 2 set is pretty much a given in any DPS build. Critical damage. And then last but not least, I go with critical rate. Again, this is up to you. You can go for, if you don't like the crit rate and ultimate recovery, you could go with whatever you prefer. But I like those stats. So I went with those. As for your exclusives, if you're just going for PvP or PvE, naturally the best way to get the best out of either way is to go full on towards one of those stats. If you are free to play and you think that it's going to be difficult to make 2 sets, I'm nowhere near even finishing 1 set. I don't think I'm going to finish 2 sets. So my focus is not going to be either way. So what I'm going for is either total damage, which applies to all enemies, or defense pierce, which is the preferred defense pierce. Total, you get more out of than the total damage, of course. But those will apply to PvE and PvP. So you don't have to make 2 sets if you do go for total damage and defense pierce. And specializations. If you suck and tend to die a lot, you're going to want disguise tactics, especially in PvE. It will give you a extra life, especially after you revive. In a PvE fight, it will activate again, so it effectively gives you multiple lives, not just 1, not just 2, multiple lives. It is great. Spider-Man and other classes have one like this. Not all classes, but some classes have a skill like this, and it comes in handy. So if you tend to be bad at dying, or bad at dodging and dying a lot to AoE or bad telegraphs because the ping is bad, because the game is bad, which is a valid complaint there, valid reason. I'll allow it. Take that. But if you are really good and you don't die a lot, you probably want something along the lines of subdue, increase damage dealt to immobile target or target with status effects, because the grenade, the bomb that grants burn, or the one of the skills that grants shock is more than likely going to be in any kit, or there's going to be other players activating status effects. This is almost always going to be active. Take that extra damage. The reason you're going to take skills like this over the critical damage is because you need actually to hit the critical damage cap, which is 300, to even start benefiting from this. And then you don't get critical from this. You have to add the critical into your cap. So if you think you can push to 350, by all means, but it's not going to be worth it. Just go with the 300 and then go with the triple stack of damage up. Increased damage dealt to targets with 50% HP or below. Increased damage dealt to a single target, which will apply with AoE skills or multiple hit skills. It will apply to the first hit to the first target, and then the rest will do regular damage. So it will always apply to at least one target when you're doing damage. And then I also, again, if you are bad with dodging and taking damage and you feel like you need a little extra help here, you can go with the damage decrease trait, which I use, but best in slot for DPS and whatnot. All that is probably going to go with the cooldown. Potentials. For any class, I always go with the attack and defense. Base stats are key. HP is kind of a dull stat. It doesn't really do anything. It's just a pool. The larger your pool is, the better naturally, but it doesn't effectively do anything. It doesn't prevent you from taking more damage. It doesn't make you do more damage. So I stick with things that actually do those first, and I'll go back for the HP later. So always take the attack, and then naturally crit rate, crit damage. I take one of everything just to get that little stat boost, but then you can see I'm at 10 out of 20 on the accuracy, get a little extra accuracy there. Crit rate, crit damage here. The cheaper ones are better. You'll get more overall for them, even though you might expect, oh, I'll get more out of this one. No, it costs less for what you get out of here, so you'll get more levels faster. So start with the lower ones, go higher, but do avoid junk stats. And here's the overall stats for my build. Obviously, I'm going to try to get to 75% dodge, or at least close to it. I think 60 is pretty good. 65, 70 would be even better. 75 would be perfect, but it's going to be hard to get there and fill some of these other stats. Crit damage, 300% is the goal. We'll be able to get some more of that out of cores, better cores, and gear, and some better card upgrades. It's not going to be hard to get a little bit more there. Crit rate is pretty good as is. Can't hurt to get a little more. There was a little more in potential, so that's not going to be a problem, but I think that is pretty good. Defense Pierce is obviously good. Cap there is 75. So things like that I don't even need to worry about anymore. If anything, I will need to shave some of those stats off, which you can do in cores, and add to attack or whatever else. But yeah, I don't focus on PvP at all. I do have a little bit of stats. I do have a little bit of supervillain. For me, those stats are not ideal because they only apply to one mode or the other, and they're not going to affect all modes. So I want to get rid of those, but they do help in different scenarios. And again, if you can afford to build multiple card sets, you can do that. And badges, I will show, even though this is completely RNG and you're kind of out of a player's control, but you can be nitpicky and avoid using some things, even though like some of them, like here, will say it gives me way more attack, and it's obvious it gives me way more attack, but I'm not using it, and it will give me way more damage too, because I wanted to get that good even build. So I'm using this badge with 2 dodge cores instead of the one with 2 crit rate cores, or crit damage cores rather, for more damage. Again, that's up to the player, that's up to you. So I'm not saying my build is the most efficient. I can obviously get more damage out of it, but I like to have that dodge because it's obviously just easy mode enables you to not have to move and do stuff. But yeah, try to stick to the obvious defense, pierce, crit rate, attack, crit damage, stuff like that. Crit rate, crit damage, accuracy, obviously. Another good one. Defense, dodge rate, stuff like that. Crit damage decrease would be ideal if you're going to get another stat on something like this that's not defense or dodge. Crit damage decrease, there it is there. Status effect resistance is not that great, not ideal, but more dodge rate, more defense would be the ideal there. Cores, obviously, it's horribly RNG, so you take what you can get. Ultimate recovery, cooldown, stamina recovery is what you're going to be focused on these bottom stamina, HP, cooldown. Ultimate, got a little bit of everything on there. Which reminds me, I'll go back to the boots. Ultimate, stamina, HP, cooldown, stuff like that. I think a mix of everything you're going to get the most out of for, Black Widow. She doesn't really need to focus on any of them, if anything. Ultimate recovery and stamina recovery, I think, are the most important. But yeah, so I'm not going to say it's the most efficient because I think that's pointless, or you end up like some other people making guides that are atrocious and don't even begin to touch on what is the best for a free-to-play player, because these whales are too clouded by their wallets to know what is actually good or not. See you later.